How's it going, guys? Brian Danoff here. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another season of New York Yankees baseball. Spring training is well underway down in Tampa, and there are a few things to talk about, to say the least. From things happening on the field to big things happening off the field, honestly, to players hurting both of their elbows. There is a lot to sort of parse through here in just the first week and a half of the very young 2025 season, and I wanted to kind of talk about as many of them as I can in this video before something else happens, and obviously all the other horrors that await us this year, which I will be talking about in future videos. So if you are new here, please subscribe, and also check out my last video I made about Billy Crystal playing for the Yankees back in 2008 during spring training. I'm pretty proud of how that turned out, and would love to put more eyeballs on it. So yeah, place your eyeballs on that video if you want. That was weird. Wanted to start with the off the field stuff, the two big traditions of the Yankees that are changing. The first one, the most recent one they announced, is that they are going to stop playing Frank Sinatra's version of the theme from New York, New York when they lose at Yankee Stadium. And I think it's a fantastic move. It's a move a lot of Yankee fans have been calling for many years. I remember back at the old stadium when they used to play Liza Minnelli's version of the song when they lost. New York, New York. And I always felt that was weird too, because first of all, who doesn't love Liza Minnelli? Second of all, why are we kind of connotating a loss and a negative thing like that with her? That never really made sense. Then they just started playing Sinatra win or lose, and that always kind of struck me the wrong way, because the song is so deeply embedded in the foundation of the Yankees. It's become that over the last 50 years since they started playing it. I think in the 80s, actually. The song is supposed to be celebratory. It's supposed to make you feel good. It's supposed to, remind you of why you love New York City and by extension, the Yankees. And belting it at the end of every game when they win, man, there is nothing better. They play it on a loop, so by the time you get out of the stadium, you've probably heard it 2 or 3 times. And that really works, again, when they win. When they lose, and you're standing there at the end of Game 5 of the World Series, and the Dodgers are celebrating on the field, and they're playing that song, you want to strangle someone. Can't relate, of course. I think it was time. It was overdue. It should have never really happened. They never should have started playing it after losses. I'm happy that they're going to actually play an unknown at this moment rotation of different songs. When they lost a couple days ago at Steinbrenner Field, they played That's Life, which is also by Frank Sinatra. That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if they just played that after every loss, because still it's a very appropriate song after a loss, right? It's a song about, life sucks, shit happens, but dust yourself off and try again tomorrow, right? I mean, that's baseball, literally. And it's still Sinatra. I mean, I think that'd be pretty appropriate. So, that's a really solid move that I think most Yankee fans, probably all Yankee fans, are pretty happy about. And again, it becomes you make it again just a specific part of Yankees' success, and it makes people want to come back to Yankee Stadium, right? If you're a Yankees fan, or if you're a tourist, or you're a casual fan, and you go to the game and you don't get to sing that song, you're probably gonna, want to come back until you get a chance to, because that's such a big part of the Yankee Stadium experience, and I'm glad the Yankees recognize that. So the next thing we got to talk about is this bad boy. Yeah, the Yankees are allowing beards now. What? I still really cannot wrap my head around it. You know, it's honestly a day I really didn't think I'd ever see, as long as Hal Steinbrenner owned the team. You know, it really was so shocking the way they did it too, because they did it a few days into spring training. So you already had players reporting, and that includes, you know, the Yankees' new closer Devin Williams, who seems like he kind of had a big part in this actually finally happening now, because he showed up to spring training. He showed up to Steinbrenner Field, I'm pretty sure, with the beard that he had with the Brewers, and he's probably had since he's, you know, been an adult, or a 16-year-old if you're like me.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness!
Eventually, you know, you started seeing him being a little, you know, clean cut. He kind of shaved it into a mustache, which I've also done in the past, and to largely positive reviews. And you might see it on the channel later this summer. We'll see. But, you know, he clearly was very upset to have to shave. Totally understand that. And, you know, I think that sort of renewed the conversation, and maybe to a point where Hal finally said, you know what, we've already been talking about doing it over the last few years, as he claims as he claimed in his press conference. And now I guess it was just time to bite the bullet. But that didn't stop, you know, Devin Williams from having to shave. He's one of the last people, I guess, in Yankees history to have to go clean shaven. I'm very happy about it. And obviously, I might be biased. But, you know, I think, again, this was something that was long overdue. I think, you know, every other team in baseball allows beards, allows facial hair, allows, for the most part, I think most teams, however you want to present yourself, just wear the uniform, right? And I think, you know, that's what my stance would be, right? But I'm not the Yankees. I'm not Hal Steinbrenner. They decided on well-groomed beards. You know, the definition of that is still kind of up in the air. Everyone's still, you know, kind of probably trying to figure out, what does that mean? Is this not well-groomed? I don't know. I try to keep it pretty groomed. It could use a trim right at this current moment. You know, you have guys on the team who obviously probably won't grow a beard, will stay clean shaven. That includes guys like Aaron Judge, who said he won't. I think Garrett Cole also, as much as it'd be cool to see him kind of go back to that Astros look with the Yankees, I think he also said he's not going to grow a beard because he doesn't want to see any grays come in this time around, which is fair. I am intrigued by who will finally test the rule and who will, you know, kind of change the definition of a Yankee, right? Because when you picture a Yankee, right or wrong, you picture a clean-cut dude wearing pinstripes.
You dick! I'm Derek Jeter. You shot me.
It was fun for a time. You know, it was always kind of a little bit of a unique thing as a Yankees fan when they would sign someone or trade for someone who has facial hair, and you'd be like, wow, like, what are they going to look like without a beard? And what are they going to look like? And, you know, we saw that with guys like Johnny Damon and, you know, Jason Giambi and Garrett Cole when he signed here a few years ago. And, you know, I mean, there was something to it, right? There was something to the tradition and the whole history of the Yankees and just doing what everyone who came before you did, right? But, you know, like I said, times change. I think it's, you know, players expressing themselves has become a very important, rightfully so, part of the game, part of professional sports. You know, letting people be themselves. And if this is a small way to help players do that on the Yankees, then, you know, I'm all for it. The only thing I'm going to miss, and I think, you know, hopefully this doesn't go away, are Yankee mustaches. I think, you know, a Yankee with a mustache has always been a very cool thing. You know, I mentioned Giambi, you had Don Mattingly, Thurman Munson, Matt Carpenter, that weird time, I think in 2015, where the whole team tried to grow mustaches, and it was kind of disturbing in some ways. Austin Wells has an amazing mustache, but he might grow into a beard, and you know, good on him, but man, that mustache is great, and I hope he keeps it in some form. But, you know, overall, I think it's a positive, and I am going to give the boomer Yankees fans some grace to get used to it, because it is a big change. It is a big change, and, you know, if they don't approve of it, I'm sure we'll all hear about it at our family gatherings this summer and what have you. But again, I think it's a step in the right direction, and I don't think it's this big indictment on the Yankees' pursuit of Juan Soto, like some people are making it out to be. Could Soto have had an impact? The Soto negotiations, the sweepstakes? Maybe. I mean, he is clean-shaven. Maybe it was also just another additional wake-up call, like, hey, let's just remove every single potential issue that could come up in negotiations so we don't have to lose out on anyone. And I don't mind that because, yeah, the goal is to win, as Hal said. That was his dad's goal, and, who knows if he would agree with it today, but also he's not here. And I think we all need to move on from George Steinbrenner. I mean, it is 2025. He has been gone for 15 years. But anyway, so now that all that off the field sort of tradition changing stuff is out of the way, I am now forced to confront the reality that is the 2025 New York Yankees. And, I have talked about on this channel and in my last few videos how I am I was pretty, happy with the offseason they had once they lost Soto, right? Obviously wanted him to be a Yankee for life. I've talked about that at length. I feel like I just want to kind of put that aside. You can literally go check out my full thoughts on Soto in a video I made about him leaving, and then I made a follow-up video about when the Yankees had signed Max Fried and Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger. And again, I think a lot of that still holds. I'm very excited about Max Fried. I'm very hopeful / interested to see how Goldschmidt and Bellinger play out. They got Devin Williams as their closer, who should be incredible for them, really, lengthen that bullpen. But the dark cloud hanging over the team already as we start this season is Giancarlo Stanton, who has tennis elbow in both elbows. That doesn't sound very good. Obviously, they said he played with it last year. They said he had it last year and he dealt with it. And it clearly did not affect him in October, not to any extent that we noticed. He obviously was just a god on that Yankees run to the World Series. There's no other way around it. But this time, he stopped swinging a bat a few weeks ago. The Yankees have kind of already said, yeah, opening day, probably not. But, surgery did not sound like what would happen when they first kind of started talking about it. But he did fly here to New York from Tampa for tests on said elbows. I think he's seeing a surgeon, as far as we know. So this stuff could change, honestly, by the time you guys watch this video. But in the meantime, I think it's fair to say the Yankees will be without Stanton for another considerable length of time. Is that weeks? Is that months? Is that the whole season? Forever? I don't know. I'm overreacting, right? But the Yankees have been very coy about it. They haven't really been able to say much about it, and it does just make you, sort of spiral into thinking about all the different outcomes. I will just generally say a 2025 Yankees team without Giancarlo Stanton is a depleted team, is a significantly worse team, I think. Unless everyone the Yankees have added to the lineup pans out and then some, right? You're going to need Goldschmidt to be Paul Goldschmidt. You're going to need Cody Bellinger to be Dodgers prime MVP Cody Bellinger. And you're going to need guys like Anthony Volpe to really step up. You're going to need Austin Wells to just be a consistent presence at the plate, not be as streaky as he was. And goes without saying, you'll need Aaron Judge to be Aaron Judge. And, it's just a lot of different things you're going to need to go very right for this lineup to not kind of have, significant holes. You don't even know who would be DH, honestly, in his place. I mean, you'd probably see a lot of Judge at DH and Goldschmidt, and you'd see a lot of Trent Grisham getting starts in the outfield. And he's great defensively, has some pop in his bat, but he's a 9-hitter. He is an absolute 9-hitter. And, it's just not a good outlook if they're going to be out without him for an extended period of time. Can they afford to start the season without him? Yes. But they cannot afford to go into a potential postseason without him or go into a pennant race in September without him. They absolutely need him, and they need him to be locked in and hitting the way he did in last October, because, again, losing Soto makes Stanton's importance that much greater. And we know maybe that wasn't the smartest idea, because Stanton has certainly not been a beacon of health while he's been here, and it's been frustrating. And I think fans, there is a level of anger and disappointment you are definitely allowed to have with Giancarlo Stanton, in the sense that, yeah, when they acquired him, he was the NL MVP. He had just hit damn near 60 home runs, and he looked like he was truly entering the prime of his career. Turns out the prime of his career was his years with the Marlins, and that kind of sucks, right? But he has had a ton of clutch moments, last October, previous Octobers. So it's a very mixed bag. It's a complicated legacy, and it's going to be a damn good 45-minute YouTube video that I make in like 5 years. Anyway, putting that pressure on myself. The only other loose ends kind of to talk about here is, again, the third base battle. That is sort of brewing in Yankees camp for third. You have, it's going to be a potential platoon between DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera, or one of them is going to win the job outright. And, that's where the concern, already, when you add in the Stanton stuff, and then you add in the fact that, yeah, the Yankees did kind of go, we don't need a true full-fledged starting third baseman. That's really, where you start to worry about how the season could go south. I like Oswaldo Cabrera. I've liked, stretches of him where he's been very, very reliable and dependable in terms of as a fielder, and he's had some impressive moments at the plate. But so I'm actually hoping it's him. He just wins the job outright, because I just don't know if my heart can handle watching DJ LeMahieu struggle to play baseball again in 2025. There were a lot of people calling for the Yankees to just go to cut bait with him, and I don't really disagree. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he has incredible spring training and carries it into the regular season, and is somehow the DJ LeMahieu we saw in 2019 and 2020. But, let's not kid ourselves. He's 36, hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's apparently fully healthy now, but I definitely would have preferred the Yankees have gotten out and went out and got a true starting third baseman. I would have loved, and I thought that maybe they could still end up with Alex Bregman, but no, he's a Red Sox. Boston should actually be pretty good this year if certain things fall into place for them. So that's it's really not ideal to not have a third baseman and to maybe not have Giancarlo Stanton. And the last thing I want to talk about, don't worry, I did not forget, even though I kind of did. I almost stopped recording. Is the Aaron Boone extension. They gave him 2 more years, 2026 and 2027, and that will bring him to the magical 10 years of service as a Yankees manager. He will be the third manager in a row to manage 10 plus years in the Bronx, of course, preceded by Joe Torre and Joe Girardi. I am not the biggest fan of Aaron Boone. I don't think any self-respecting Yankees fan should be. But listen, the resume is the resume. He has multiple 100-win seasons with the Yankees. He has an obviously overwhelming winning record. He's led them to the postseason every year he's been manager, except 2023. And there's something to that, right? He is certainly capable of leading them to the playoffs. He clearly, has made some good managerial decisions here and there. He's also made some really terrible managerial decisions. And that's where the whole big debate starts, because there's a question as to how much control he really has. If we take the Yankees at their word, he makes the lineup. He is the on-field he is the on-field manager of the team. He makes the calls. He decides on who to put in the games. That's really tough to believe these days when you have 50 Ivy League grads working under Brian Cashman. I mean, and they're presenting him with all this information and all, wink, wink, hint, hint. Hey, this guy is really good, and then this guy, but his lane is the 6th inning with 2 outs on a sunny day in August. Like, it's very hard to evaluate a manager. So I do grant people that, but there's also something to be said about the way his teams in the last 3 years in a row, have completely bottomed out at different parts of the season. Yes, in 2022's case, they did rebound enough. They won the division. They limped in the playoffs. There was a lot of injuries. In 2023's case, Aaron Judge did get hurt, and without him, obviously, there was not much to salvage with that team. But then 2024 happens, and it happens again, and it happens with a healthy Juan Soto. It happens with a healthy Aaron Judge. It happens with a mostly healthy team, and they just, what was it, 6-7 week stretch where they were seriously like threatening, potentially going to lose their division lead and potentially going to, fall further and further. They did turn it around, but I just don't think those stretches need to or should have happened. And I know there's a lot of reasons for it, but that just, it's a very difficult debate to have, right? It's a difficult conversation. And there are parts of Aaron Boone I like, things I like about him. He certainly seems like a great guy. The players love him. And I know that's what players, just talking about self-expression and making players feel comfortable. I don't love the idea of a manager being a player's best friend. There certainly seems like that's who Boone is to most of the guys in there, that he has a relationship with. Clearly, I'm kind of two minds on this, or maybe multiple minds. I'm not thrilled that Aaron Boone has gotten the extension. Am I, absolutely, furious and mad? No, I don't have enough energy for that. And again, I don't have a true understanding of what he can and cannot do as manager anymore. And again, the Yankees have tried to say that he's the guy, but I have my doubts. I've seen the way they've handled certain situations as a team, as a front office, and I think that the doubt that some fans have about Boone's power is definitely warranted. But anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about, guys. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to get into as the season, goes on. So stay tuned for more videos about, sort of the day-to-day happenings of the Yankees. Probably not day-to-day uploads, but, want to try to get on here as consistently as I can this season. I'll also be making more of those long-form videos, like the Billy Crystal video that I talked about. And I'm working on another one right now that should be out before opening day, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Certainly the facial hair rule, New York after losses, the Aaron Boone extension. What do you think? Would love to hear from you. And make sure to follow me on Twitter as well if you haven't already, at Brian Cashman, and subscribe as well if you haven't. And if you haven't and you've watched this whole video, what are you doing? Would appreciate hitting that little button. Makes me feel good. Gets the dopamine rush going. So. Anyway, and also I do really appreciate the support. But yeah, thanks for watching. Go Yankees, and I'll see you all next time.